Good morning, Ohio. It's James Ernest of The Grueling Truth here with Luke Reese, author of One for the Memory Banks. Luke, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, James. I appreciate it.
So what inspired you to write the book?
This is sort of a sad moment, but it was a combination. I was taught to play golf by an elder Scotsman named Alan Bond. His nickname was Bondy, and the two of us played multiple rounds around a bunch of the great courses all over the UK. We did this over years and years, and we used to, after each round, I would always sort of write down what had happened and sort of, almost turn it into little stories. And at one point, there were a whole series of these things. And then, sadly, Bondy contacted ALS and passed away this past year. He was about 17 years older than I was, so he was sort of a mentor, a golf mentor, certainly. And he was just a great guy, phenomenal person, one of those sort of part James Bond, part Arnie Palmer type characters. Everybody loved him. Everybody loved being around him. And when he passed away, I thought, you know what, the world ought to know who he is. And he's the kind of golfer that people would aspire to be and aspire to be around.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to say it's a nice tribute to him, this book. What do you hope the readers take away from reading the book?
I think I've been very, very lucky with the reviews so far. So I've gotten, a bunch of people have sort of said it's a compelling book. I think it's very funny. I hope that they enjoy themselves. B, I hope they take away that life is short. Go play golf and be with the people you want to be with, and do it now, because you just don't know how much longer it's going to be there. I just recently had somebody just sent me an email that said, look, it was touching, and it reminded me that it's not about the score, it's not about what happens, it's about doing it, and it's about being out there. So I would say probably 3 or 4 levels for me were important. One is that. 2 was just this incredible friendship with Bondy that I hope people realize that, I was a lucky person in my life, and unlucky that he got ALS and passed away, but lucky to have known him for so long. And then I think the other one is, links golf. There are just so many awesome golf courses over in both, England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. And I hopefully gave a picture and a sort of a feeling for what those courses are like over there.
So who is your target audience? Is it sports fans or more than that?
I think it's, sort of a funny thing. Originally, when I wrote these stories, the target audience would have been people who might, who would be very serious golfers. But as time evolved, it definitely, I made it less golfy. It's still a very, very much of a golf book, but I don't think it's just a pure golf book. I've had quite a few people who've read it have said, I don't even play golf, or several have called me and say, you know what, I'd read your book and I want to start playing golf. It makes me want to play golf with my father. It makes me want to play golf with my mother. It makes me want to play more golf. So I think it's definitely a golf book. It's definitely a travel book. I think it's, as George Pepper of Golf, formerly editor, longtime editor of Golf Magazine said, it's a part combat story, part love story, and more importantly, it's a travelogue. So I think it's for anybody who cares about golf, but also cares about with whom they play.
What had inspired your change from tennis to golf? It's sort of a funny thing, and I don't want to run down tennis. I loved tennis. I loved being a tennis player. I was a college tennis player. I joined Wilson Sporting Goods essentially as a sales rep over in Europe back in the early '90s, and at that time, tennis was big, and there's still a powerhouse in tennis, and we had a growing golf business, and golf was just really starting on the continent of Europe, which is the area that I had as a territory. And I thought, you know what, I have to learn, or at least figure out what I'm doing in golf. And I thought, I assumed it would be easy because the ball wasn't moving. And I had no idea. Comically, my first round, sort of the week before I joined Wilson, I said, well, let me borrow clubs and I'll go with a friend and we'll go play. And we were traveling around Ireland at the time. And he says, well, great, I'll get us a tee time. Okay, fine. I didn't know any better. And we went to a place called Ballybunion, which is just so laughable today when I think about it. It's like one of the greatest courses in the world, incredibly difficult. And there I am as a fundamental beginner out there playing in this course. And I had the good sense to pick up the ball whenever the moment I wasn't even like part of it. I picked up the ball, so I didn't slow anybody down. But it was just a disaster. And, playing in 40-mile-an-hour winds in the rain, etc. And I thought, okay, I don't even like this game. And then something happened later on, and I thought, you know what? I want to try it. I want to go back. I want to see what those courses are like. And suddenly I started realizing that, playing links golf was just pure fun. And, unlike a tennis court, there's nobody ever says, hey, let's go take a trip and go play a different tennis court. They're the same thing everywhere. Whereas in golf, it's a different thing. You get to play, and it's the only place where you get to sort of take artwork, which is the architecture, and interact with it.
Speaking of being different, how is golf different in Europe compared to the United States?
Well, if you're talking about Europe, I'm going to go to the UK mostly because I'll talk about Great Britain and Ireland. That's a very different. I would say the vast majority of golf played over there is typically match play, which is really just a person or two people against two people, and you're playing where you don't come back and say, I shot a 91, I shot an 84, I shot a 73. You come back and say, I won 3-2 or I lost 2-1. It's all based on sort of just how you play against somebody else with the strokes given. They play faster. That because they're not putting things out at the end. If you're out of the hole, you're done. I happen to like it because it doesn't create that much stress. So you're not sitting around saying, "Oh boy, 1 or 2 bad holes can destroy your round." They only represent 1 out of 18 points, and I think it makes for me a much more enjoyable experience. And it brings in a lot of camaraderie because you're really spending your time thinking about the other person as opposed to thinking just about yourself against the score. I don't know.
So more of a team effort.
I'd say it's definitely more of a team effort. I think that having grown up playing that way, it's why, frankly, we see in the Ryder Cup, the Europeans are just better at playing match play. They've just done more of it, and they play more like a team on that level. And I'm not suggesting that we have non-team oriented players. I just think that American golfers wake up thinking about stroke play. They don't think about match play.
So why did you choose the courses that you did?
Partly because those were where some of the very funny events took place. And obviously, for those who've read the book, I'm trying to make sure that everybody has a good time as they read it. But I also didn't want to just write about, here's what happened at Carnoustie, here's what happened at St. Andrews, here's what happened at the classic courses that have every place. I wanted to give people an insight into the fact that golf in Ireland or in Scotland or in Southeast England is really different and different from each other, but also there are an amazing number of great courses. So, Bondi and I played at Littlestone, at Royal St. Ports, and at Prince's down near Royal St. George's. I could have easily written about something that took place at Royal St. George's, but I thought, let me write about something that takes place at sort of a fun course right nearby that everyone should play. I think part of the message here is there is great golf to be played all over the place, not just at the 10 or 15 courses we've all talked about.
Why do you compare golf courses to celebrities?
I don't know what happened there. I guess I'm sort of a wise ass. So I just I was sitting there as I was writing this. I was thinking,
I just thought it was sort of funny, and I was trying to be sort of comical, but I also sort of wanted to give a sense that, okay, these courses all have different personalities, and I thought everybody could sort of recognize, what they are and how they were. So I just thought it would be a fun way, and certainly when I was looking at the courses along, with Turnberry, Troon, Prestwick, Western Gales, I just thought, okay, it would be a fun way to sort of make people have a memorable vision of, like, there aren't all just one kind of golf course. They're quite different, and they behave differently. So I thought it was thought it was sort of a fun way, and I've gotten a pretty good response to that one so far.
With them all being different and unique, which one's your favorite?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Do you mean my favorite in that little crowd, or my favorite golf course overall?
Overall.
Oh boy. I would have a really tough time. If I'm talking about links courses in the UK, I would say a combination of either Royal Dornoch or Royal County Down would be my two favorites. So I'm going to go Northern Ireland on one and Scotland on another. And this is if I'm talking just about links golf courses. If I'm talking about overall favorite places to play, it might be Tara Iti in New Zealand. It would be there's a lot of great golf courses out there, but I probably would have an easier time coming up with a top 10 than I do a top 1.
And I'm going to go the opposite with with it. What hole is the biggest pain?
What hole's the biggest pain?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you read the book, you'll see that at Littlestone Golf Club, I've managed to par their par 6 course, hole number 16 several times. And I'm joking, it's a par 4. Every time I've played it, I make a double bogey. So I would say 16 and 17 at Littlestone would be the two nastiest golf holes I'm used to playing. And they're great golf holes. I just don't have an ability to play them. So I don't know why. Don't know what I can do. I stand up on that tee and go, this is going to be a disaster. And then I create that.
And this question might not make any sense, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And one of the pictures that I saw of you golfing, there were horses on the golf course.
Oh, it does make sense. It's a course called Penard. And it's in the southwestern tip of Wales, and we're playing, and there were wild horses running around the golf course, and I've been told that they are no longer there, but there were probably 20 horses. So it's like you're on a film set for some movie scene or something, as if they just got horses. I mean, there were horses just running around the course. And in Wales, they typically have free pasture. They allow things to roam around. So you've got cows, you've got sheep, you've got various different things. But I've never been on a golf course with just wild horses running. And comically, on that trip, on that picture, my father was out playing, and he was trying to hit a chip, and the horses just kept following him. They just liked him. They all just kept following him. So finally, and he was like, am I allowed to move my ball? And his opponent's like, no, you got to hit your chip where it is. And so he reached in his bag, and he took out like a little piece of like a little sort of a bar, and moves it out like one of those health nut bars, and he walks over and drops a little piece over on the other side of the green, and then comes back, and all the horses just sort of walked over to see what was there, and then he just hit his chip, and we proceeded on. So
nice.
Yeah.
So I was going to say the book is, of course, very, very interesting and very funny. It's quite an enjoyable read. So before we let you go, where on social media, where on the web, where's the best place to get the book?
You can either go to thememorybanks.com, and if you just Google in One for the Memory Banks, they'll have a website that'll set it up. It's selling that way. Or you can just Google on Amazon. And it's on both locations, and it's been we're lucky. We've gone to a second printing already, and so it's been received very well. And what we're really thrilled by is a lot of people have bought it and then have called back or emailed back and said, I'm buying 5 more copies to give to my friends because I want them to realize that it's the kind of book that makes us all want to go take more golf trips, go be together more, and essentially have fun doing it.
That is awesome, especially with everything that's going on in the world. Anything that can create unity and create a sense of being together is always a good thing. Thank you, Luke, for joining us today.
I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. So it's called One for the Memory Banks, and it's been an honor for me to write it. Thank you.
Welcome.